I thought that you might be interested in the product and also in accessibility. That's why you're here. So today I would like to tell you about accessibility that pays off, that it's worth to include that in your design phase, in your product phase, in every step of your development, and how to do it not to lose your clients. But let's start from the story. It's really cold outside, so I decided to tell you a story from my holidays. This is my picture. I took it on Corfu. So imagine those 30 degrees, even more. It was amazing weather. But as you can see, we are now at the top of the mountain. Not a really high mountain, but it was madness to go there in such temperature with 4 people and 1 bottle of water. It was not wise. So when we got there at the top, we ran out of water totally. So we need to go back, if I can point here, to that city to find some shop and to buy some more water. So when we get down, in that city, a village, there was a shop. And as you can see, this shop has 2 entrances. It had 3, in fact. One just exactly the same as those ones. 1 more. There is an obstacle at the bottom of the shop, as you can see. And I just wanted water. Exactly the same as the woman next to me, probably a mother of adult-ish son. He was on a wheelchair. She was pushing him in front of her. It was quite heavy. And probably she also wanted to buy some drink in the shop. And we found out there that it is not possible to go into the shop because of that obstacle. But the shop owners, they wanted to get her inside because it was awkward that she was not able to get in with her son inside. And they brought this piece of wood, put that in front of the shop to allow her to go inside. So finally she was able to push him in front of her, go inside, but inside it turned out that the space is so narrow and so clustered that she was not able to move around. So she had to leave her son next to the door, take something she wanted from the shop, pay, and get out. And as you can see, this is quite a fancy shop. You can see vegan, eco, bio, quite nice cafe. I think, not the cheapest one in that particular space. 3 entrances. You might say, interesting choice. But inside and even outside, totally unusable for some people. And this is accessibility. This is what accessibility is about. This is my imaginary story of every e-commerce shop, every web app, banking app, whatever app you can name, that is really shiny outside, a lot of commercials around that, but is not usable for really large amount of people that cannot get in, cannot shop in this online application, and in fact, they just live there alone. But who is talking to you? My name is Kinga Witko. You can prepare your mobile phones if you have ones, because we will get some QR codes in the middle of my talk. I'm an accessibility trainer, I'm an auditor, I'm also software tester. I'm based from software testing. I run a blog about mainly accessibility, but not only. And also I'm a co-host of a podcast, Tu się testuje, it's in Polish, but maybe some of you would be interested. This is my LinkedIn, but yeah, it's really nice to meet you. And I would like to start from the sentence from a person I really admire in the field of accessibility. His name is Wojtek. And Wojtek said that not everything must be accessible. Some things simply shouldn't exist. And I agree with that. It's really simple, catchy. And I would like to talk to you about 3 things today. So, at first, why do clients abandon their carts? About mistakes that you really easily can avoid in your product. And also how to design in an inclusive way. But let's start from this phrase, neurodiversity. Anyone here knows what does it mean? Or maybe let's put it the other one. Who has no idea what neurodiversity is? Okay, so this is the concept that people can think, perceive information, gather information in a different way, in variant methods. And it doesn't mean that some of those methods is worse or is wrong. It's just different. And when we are talking about neurodiversity, we usually speak of conditions such as ADHD, autism spectrum, Tourette syndrome, or dyslexia. So maybe you know those people in your surrounding, at your work, your colleagues. But according to new researches done in the UA last year, 20% of UE, European Union population, is neurodivergent. Some people know about it, some don't. They just perceive information or the environment they live in a different way. They know that something is wrong, but they cannot tell what is that. But 20% is quite a large number. And those might be people from your closest peer group, at work, at home. But also these might be your clients who, at first, when they come to some quite known application, they stumble upon commercials, blinking screens, flashing content, some sliders, and they're not able to comprehend information that is there. So you would like to sell something. You have an app that is catchy and might be used for quite a large number of people, but in fact you exclude 20% of your potential clients just like that, because you don't think, you don't design, taking into account their needs. And of course, I understand that online shop, the application, should sell, but we can sell in a different ways with respect of people's needs. And this is what I hear from my clients and also from people on the LinkedIn, because I publish a lot, I write about accessibility, and people tend to say, well, those are not our clients. We don't have such clients. But how do you know? Do you ask them, hey, do you have ADHD? Or do you have autism spectrum? Are you my client? I don't think so. So let's make a test, really short. We're in Poland. How many people live in Warsaw? Do you know that? Warsaw, capital of Poland.
1.5.
2 million, okay, 1.5. It's over 2 million. It depends on the statistics, but usually it's like 2.2, 2.5 million. So now let's think of people with disabilities, different type of disabilities. That might be people who cannot hear, cannot see, have different neuro conditions, psychic conditions, that have mobility issues, a lot of different disabilities. How many such people live in Poland? It's like 3 to 0.1 million. It's like two cities of Warsaw next to each other. Imagine this number of people. And that might be your clients. And you don't know that. And you have no idea what methods do they use to get into your content, to do the online shopping, to use the banking app. And especially the problem or the opportunity in accessibility is that people with different conditions use also certain additional tools, additional helpers that allow them to get into the content. Because, for example, people who cannot see, they use screen reader, but sometimes they also have it combined with certain keyboards, certain assistants that allow them to use that better. But I would like you to look at that guy. He has something called mouth wand. So this is a special assistance for people who, for example, have limited motion in their arms or have no arms at all. And this is the way they use keyboard. So they have this stick in their mouth and they use regular keyboard just in a different position and they can type. But imagine this kind of using a keyboard, how much time this person needs to simply type a password or to complete the entire shopping process in an online shop. Let's pause here. We'll get back to this later. And just maybe not to be super serious about disabilities and accessibility, because I know that when I say people with disabilities or blind people, it's like, okay, now it's serious. Usually these are really normal people, like with a sense of humor, and they would like to be treated as any other person. And I would like to propose you for your apps, for your shops, for whatever you do at your work, a guide to scare away a keyboard user in 3 simple steps. A keyboard user is a person who uses either a screen reader, so that might be somebody who is blind, or that may be a person who just doesn't use a mouse because the keyboard or any other assistive technology that based on the same that keyboard does is the way of using the shop, the application, whatever. So step 1, cover the screen. I know that we have different needs. We have marketing department, we have legal department, we have a lot of different departments when we would like to sell stuff online. And then we have cookie policy. And as you can see on those examples, even a person who can see and is fully able to do anything they want on their mobile, if we cover the entire screen and don't allow people to go to the next one, it really may scare somebody off. But imagine a person that is using a screen reader and somebody forgets to code those cookie banners or any other banners in the application properly. This is a no-go. So such person is not even able to go into your website, into your shop, and look around. It's not possible because that kind of obstacles just block them right away. Or, my favorite, subscribe to our newsletter. I had this argument a lot that this is the best for selling because we collect people's data and then we can sell them in longer term. But okay, usually such pop-ups, splash screens, whatever that is, covers the entire screen. And usually people who code that don't think of the keyboard users, screen reader users. They just don't care. And it's really hard to either close such screen or even to join to this newsletter because this is really tricky to implement the buttons or checkbox in a good way. So those are the pop-ups or any other stuff that come to my attention when I was using online shop, just a random user. So I imagine that as a person with disability, with some motion problems, that might be a no-go for me as well. Okay, moving on, step 2, no text alternative. Who has no idea what a text alternative is? Okay, so when people can see what's in the screen, what's in the picture, in a movie, in a GIF, whatever, it's a good idea to describe that picture or that film or whatever in a word, in a set of words, sentences. It might be longer, it might be shorter, but the idea of that is to be an eye of a person who can see to transfer the same information. And that's critical for an online shop, right? If you don't do that properly, or even you don't completely think of text alternatives for your pictures, usually a screen reader would communicate a path to the file. So this is not the picture name. This is not what's inside them. It might be pick 1, 2, 3, or as we can see here, this is more complicated because it was the entire gallery. Image gallery, strona image 1 of 11 poza miejscem podziału siatki image gallery. This is what a person hears when they would like to buy a screwdriver or whatever, right?
But wait, it sounds right now like you are complaining about the quality of the screen readers instead of those websites, because this is the problem that software developers have already solved with different types of software. It's possible to have proper interpretation of that screen that we previously seen.
Not always. It's not that simple. But we can carry on later. May I go further?
Yeah.
Okay. And the step 3 would be the keyboard itself, because it's helpful both for the screen readers and also for the entire group of users who use different types of assistive technology. And when you ignore the keyboards, for example, the checkboxes, the radio buttons that are not coded properly, and by coded properly, I mean the developers didn't use semantic HTML, but they used some other stuff to make the website shiny, or they used just AI-generated code for the website that has nothing to do with semantic HTML. We have problems with newsletters, but generally with forms. And even in such situation, when a person would like to complain that something is not right on the website, that they are the screen reader users, they would like to complain on something because this is their right according to the law that we have now in the EU, it might not be possible because we have 2 fields, a button, and for example, 2 radio buttons. And those radio buttons, in 9 cases out of 10, as far as I know the internet, are not accessible via keyboard because it's easy to forget of such stuff. And one more thing, I'll tell you one more story. So some time ago, I discovered that I don't see as good as I used to. It's probably because I'm aging. And I decided to enlarge the font on my mobile. So by default, everything on my mobile is bigger because I don't want to wear reading glasses all the time. And what happened? I found out that most of my apps completely don't get it. Either the font is cut or is transferred to the next line. Sometimes is, wow, really amazing. that it doesn't fit to the button, or even, as in this example, it is not possible to move forward when you install an app because every item here is just moved down. And why is that? Because developing accessibility for the website is different than developing it for mobile, especially in terms of fonts. The fonts are implemented in a different way to scale better on mobile. And that's a common mistake. And this is unfortunately really common in the mobile applications that would like to sell us something, would like to sell us books or tickets or whatever you sell in your applications. And by doing that, you might also lose your clients just because of such detail that might seem not really worth investing your time at the moment you design it or when you code it. So, okay, mistakes and how to avoid them. There is a report. So there is an organization called WebAIM. WebAIM examines websites each year for, 10 or more years now. They create a report. It is published probably in February, so we wait for the report for the last year now. And the report gives the basic results of the accessibility of 1 million websites every year. And every year is the same. It's probably there is difference in 1 or maybe 2% regarding the accessibility of the websites. So, not good. But the one mistake that is every year on the first place is the contrast. 79% of websites have insufficient contrast. And that is a basic design. UX designer just design contrast, that somebody is able to see what's in your application or to do some actions in a comfort way, let's say. And let me give you an example. So I wanted to buy a voucher for my friend. And I went to the spa website. And here's a button. And it says, Kup voucher, so buy a voucher. It was on the website. So the website was entirely beige and the buttons had white letters on them. It's simple. It's just one change that might ease a lot for people who can't see colors, who can't see in a proper way, who has different eye conditions. So quite an easy trick to enlarge number of your clients. If you would like to have more materials about what I'm talking about, Web Million report, also some reports on disabilities, I prepared materials for you. So you can scan the code and then just look around what's in there. All right, so summing it up, we have problems that are solvable, usually by good implementation, but I would say, and this is also taken from different researches, that 70% of problems with accessibility can be solved by designers and on the level of UX design. So 70%, that's huge. And by implementing good designs, good fonts, good contrast, you are able to ease the website navigation, app navigation by different people with different needs. So how to do that? How to include inclusive design in your, let's say, online shops. So I would like to share you some best practices I think they're useful for different solutions, but let's focus on those shops and those carts that people abandon. The first thing is the need of simple navigation. So clear way back, informing your client what is going on. And of course, categories or filters or menus. Because at first, lack of them might be really confusing for neurodivergent people who are overwhelmed with information and have no idea what is going on in the shop. But for the keyboard users, for the screen reader users, the little, the better. Because when we ease the navigation, it is really better for them to complete the order, to do their shopping or whatever they do in your application. And believe me, most of people who can't see, they prefer to do stuff online, to buy online, to fill the forms online, instead of moving around the city and going to the shopping mall. Still, even with those obstacles, it's better and easier for them. And things that may be not super measurable, because that something is intuitive or that you communicate, especially communicate errors that people make on the website, that might be different by design. And it's not easy way to say how to do it best. But I would like to focus on the middle one. Save for later. I have an experience with different shops that they tend to clear my cart after, for example, an hour or two. And imagine now the person who has this kind of disability, and their only way to move around the shop, to type something on their keyboard, is by using a mouse wand. It takes time, believe me. It takes a lot of time. And imagine such person purchasing something online and going through all those processes that you have in your shop, in your application, finally getting into the stage that they want to purchase something, and you clear the cart. And we go back to the square one. That's the most frustrating thing. That's why it's really important to consider the time in your designs and consider people that might need. It's not their whim, it's just their need to have more time to complete some actions. I would say also no tools, or hire somebody who knows the tools. And there are some basic tools you can use to just play around with accessibility on your PC, on your mobile, whatever system you use. So there is a button on every keyboard, Tab, and this is the primary button for every person who uses keyboard. So keyboard users will simply use Tab to move around the website. They will use arrows. They will use Enter, Space. So try it out. If you've never tried that before, this is a good exercise to just see your application from a different angle than before. And of course, on every PC, every mobile phone, whatever device you have, there is usually an option, dostępność or accessibility. It's in settings. And there's a lot of them. There might be a screen reader, there might be this font enlargement I showed you before. Just play around. Don't be afraid, or those changes are reversible. But it's also a good exercise and a really nice experience to see your product, your application. Maybe in a way you've never think that somebody might use it, but trust me, a lot of people use that and you have even no idea how. And to the end of this talk, I would like to encourage you to think of accessibility as a scale, because it will never be that the application is either accessible or not. It's a scale. It's accessible for some. Maybe some other people would have difficulties to use it, but still, it's a matter of considering them at the level of design, development, testing, and think of their needs than to ignore them. And I wish, this is a fantastic graphic of mine, that every online shop, every application is wide open for everyone, and everyone can access, go around, buy whatever they want, and just go out. That would be perfect. If you want to know more about the podcast, for example, there's also a QR code to our episode about accessibility, but we have some more about accessibility there as well. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you.
And if you have questions...
Thanks. I have a question. What do you think about the plugins for websites? Accessibility plugins. Is it enough from your perspective?
Oh, Jesus. Okay, I even had some talks recently why this is pure evil and why this is totally no-go. I think we have on YouTube also this presentation about accessibility plugins. We do. So it's in Polish, but I can send you later. But in a short, this is the worst you can do. Because when the code on the website, the HTML, is broken, there's no plugin that magically fixes it. It's like shit in, shit out. So it's colorful. We call it accessibility washing. Like greenwashing, this does exactly the same. It has millions of dollars for marketing, because there are some companies, the three more known are like Userway or EasyWeb. They market it as a simple fix for accessibility. And there isn't even a special law, I don't know what was that, but it was delivered from the European Union, from the organization, from the people with disabilities, that this is the worst solution you can get. And also in the United States, where accessibility, I believe, on website is on a quite good level or better level than in Europe. There are lawsuits and cases in court in which the business owners that trusted the overlays or accessibility widgets, they had to pay the fine because the website were not accessible. So this is not an insurance. Even, I don't know how to put that in a good way, but for me, it's the accessibility washing is a polite way to name that.
But why exactly? Because I didn't test a lot that plugins, but I remember recently I just opened it and I saw that you can easily change the font size or the contrast. And what exactly is the pure evil, as you said? Because I really love to understand it.
Mm-hmm. So let me give you an example of a screen reader. Usually the widget blocks you to go into the website because the screen reader stacks on the widget instead of going inside, because they don't fix the code. They just additional layer added at the top of the code to ease the access. But I showed you some methods that people with disabilities use. So they use keyboard, they have certain device, they are used to that devices. And this is what they use on a daily basis. When somebody has low vision, they might have a enlarged phone on their PC. They don't need that on this particular website because this is what they use on a daily basis. So this is not a help. This is something to say we're accessible and just walk away. This is not the real help for the user. And there is, I don't know how many of you are Polish speakers, but for me, also there is a way of translation. And probably it's done by AI or any other source. You can have the widget in, let's say, your language. So the base language is English. And the accommodation in English for people who are blind is blind. But in every easy way or user way widget, when you translate everything in Polish, this blind is translated to ślepota. So that's really the most impolite way you can say about the person who cannot see. And this is also shows me that the intention of the people who designed those overlays of those widgets is not care or being for the user that might need help. It's just, okay, checklist, done. We're accessible now.
I have a question regarding Jak dojadę, because you showed the example of commercial, like big one. I hate those. Like, I think, we all hate them. So how would you approach, the business owner? And they're saying like, hey, this is like commercial, we're gaining profit, and you're talking about accessibility. Okay, we can reach out to more people, but we'll lose our, benefit on commercials. So how would you argue there, or is there an alternative to show commercials and at the same time make them accessible?
Of course, I can understand the business need. And this is usually the case that, for example, when I'm auditing a website, there are certain solutions that people use to make profit. And I get it. But there are also certain rules in which we operate in the accessibility community or whatever. And also these are the rules that people are obliged according to the European Union law to Polish law. And it's called WCAG or WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And these are the technical guidelines how to create accessible websites. And according to the commercials or some GIFs or sliding contents, there are also guidelines that say you are not allowed to do so. You should have a mechanism to stop it, to pause it, but just to prevent people, for example, for having seizures. Because this is the worst case scenario that can be, that people who are photo sensitive may get seizures. Somebody may die because you display such stuff. This is dangerous for some, maybe for a minority, but still I have that in the top of my head. Why would you do that? And if that argument won't help, there's also a way to show either the data, how many people might use that app, or the fines. You can be sued because of something like that. You can pay the fine. We have a law now since June last year in the European Union, in Poland. You can be fined, you can be sued because you do such stuff. So there are better ways to put commercials, for example, prevent them from moving. But maybe there is a way to design something in a better way. According to Jak dojadę, a lot of people wrote me because I posted that on LinkedIn, and there are a lot of comments that, well, this is an old app, we all love this app, we all use it, so, that's minor, not so many people will have problems with that. So this is also the matter of old design. This is not new application. And maybe when somebody would do the redesign of that, might consider some different approach. I don't know that, but usually I don't want to scare somebody with the fine. But for example, in France, you can pay 500 5,000 euros because of accessibility issues. In Poland, this is not that high, but still, you don't know in which country somebody is using your online shop, for example.
Regarding to my presentation, what are your most often arguments that you hear from your potential clients that you fight with?
Usually that's the matter of budget, because when you have your app ready or online shop or whatever, it is super expensive sometimes to fix it when it's not accessible in the first place. Because as I said, when we fix something on the level of design, it's like 70% of the cost can be reduced. And that's easy to fix. But when the website is ready, when it has legacy code, it has a lot of dependent systems, then you need to invest money to make it accessible and sometimes to do the huge refactor to make it better. And unfortunately, sometimes I can hear that we have a budget for fine. And that's it. Sue us. Sometimes there is no discussion. There are people who care, and I work with companies who come to me, they ask for an audit, and then I work with developers, with UX designers. We really go deep into details how to make things better. And I love work with such clients, and I have this pleasure to work with some. But they think it's a right thing to do. And I reckon this as the best approach, because otherwise it always would be too expensive to fix.
Have you tried any of those automated accessibility audit tools that list you all your accessibility issues?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is
What's your opinion on that?
So this is the base work, in fact. This is like the first step when you do an audit. There are tools that are good for auditing and recommended, but they're not perfect, because what the tool does, it audits the code. So you know the flaws in the code, but this is just the beginning, because WCAG or the overall experience regarding accessibility is not just the code, because sometimes that might be problems in design, sometimes in just the user experience, and sometimes it just because of the code. Usually not every website is written in semantic HTML, let's be honest. It's JavaScript, it's CSS, these are plugins, these are additional stuff you can load to your code as well. And it causes problems. So the best tool you can use, in my opinion, it's Wave. So Wave is a free tool. The tool itself is accessible because it was designed even for the testers who can see. It has a version this is a plugin for the web browser. So there is a version for Chrome, for Firefox, for Internet Explorer. And that's the best because it returns a lot of issues. The most, I believe, from the tools that we have available in the market, it's free and it's really updated. It has some flaws because sometimes it returns false positives and you need to be careful what does it do. But as the base for the testing is great. There are also tools more for developers than testers. For example, Axe has also a plugin that allows you to test the code against accessibility, but it returns different stuff than Wave. It would be rather development related, rather problems with the code, not exactly the problems with accessibility itself. So Wave is better for that stuff, but also I have like huge portfolio of stuff that I need for certain issues on the website. So I have different tools for headings, different tools for some text alternatives and so on. So yeah, there's a lot. You can use a lot and then even compare the results.
So the follow-up question, which is the key to this question, is: will the wave suffice to protect me from a fine?
No. So
So it means
accessibility audit.
If we still have some accessibility issues which were undetected by Wave, they can still be a basis for a sue.
Yes.
Okay, damn it. So how can I be 100% sure that my application is completely accessibility legally compliant? Okay, so if I can always be sued by someone inaccessible, so it's better to prepare for a fine.
It doesn't work.
It's
this way.
just
So
business.
if you, the first step would be the audit, either in your organization or some external company or whoever does the audit. Then you need to fix the problems, because I also sometimes talk to clients who think that the audit is like, we did the audit, so we're done. No, now you need to fix the problems. So when you fix the problems, it's also a good idea to invite, for example, a tester who's blind or who's deaf, depending on what type of application or website you're working on. Those people work as the accessibility helpers or testers or developers or whatever. They're on the market. You can invite them to your product just to make sure that you excluded the potential problems with your application. And that would give you the good, especially when we are talking in the round of designers or product people, you work with your clients. So even if you research the market or you have some people for your user testing, invite for those user testing one person with disability and give them the application. Give them the opportunity to go through the processes you think they work. And when they show you how they use it, because even when I use a screen reader, I probably won't use it as in a way that the person who does it on a daily basis and has different hacks for struggling with some stuff. They're just used to that. And I know that. So inviting such tester and hearing the opinion might give you a good approach to the accessibility, the real accessibility in the application.
Thanks. In fact, I have two last questions, two short, but short ones. So first of all, thanks for the presentation. Do you know about a wider analysis about the most common web pages and what kind of disabilities or what kind of accessibility tools are, maybe not tools, but methods are used? Like 10% is using bigger font, like 5% of people is using high contrast mode or whatever on the top pages.
No, I don't believe that there are such research. I don't know.
Okay, and following the numbers then, you said that you work with the companies that that are putting attention to such way of designing products, which is great. Do you have an analysis about the before and after in terms of the usage of the application, so those numbers can speak for you on the pitch to those that are saying we don't have budget?
That's tricky, and we had a lot of discussions around that, because as I said, investing in accessibility sometimes might be really expensive. And some companies won't share the data. They usually keep that inside. So I won't name the clients. But when they do and when they research, I had like two situations in which it was checked precisely before and after. And in such cases, there were like 20%, 5% of growth in finishing the purchase process. if we can say it's because of fixing accessibility, we don't know that. But you still don't know how many people you're cutting off because of such problems.
Yes, of course. But yeah, that's great. I mean, we need to take some assumptions, and then we can maybe use this data afterward. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.